Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Ashley with Relaxing Creations Company. It's been a while. I have so many videos recorded. I just gotta find time to edit them, so hopefully I can get that done soon. Today's video we're making oatmeal milk and honey soap. I'm starting from the very beginning, showing you guys how I mix up my lye. Everything for this video will be pre-measured, but here at the beginning I showed you that my water was 64 degrees. I use water right out of my water cooler, so it's pretty cold to begin with. And then I just added the lye right to it, and we're going to mix for several minutes. I cut a lot of that part out, but you guys will be able to see the process here. You want to mix it till where you are positive everything is fully dissolved. And you see that 64-degree water is all the way up to 218 degrees now, just by simply adding the lye. That's why it's extremely important that you're wearing safety material, like gloves, long sleeves. I don't always wear long sleeves, but definitely always wear gloves when you're doing this. Goggles is very important. And a lot of people like to wear a mask when they're messing with the lye as well, because it does put off a lot of fumes. So I poured that hot lye water directly into my solid oils and butters, and I'm using that to melt the oils and butters. I really prefer this method when I'm soaping. It seems to cut out a lot of time for me. There's no wait time. I can measure everything up and then get right to measuring. I don't have to melt everything, wait for it to get down to room temperature. I do soap at room temperature from time to time, but most of the time I'm doing the heat transfer method. And here I'm just doing a time lapse of me melting these oils and butters. It takes roughly about 5 minutes for my batch size. Obviously that's going to vary depending on your batch size. The cocoa butter, the coconut oil melts much faster than that shea butter. So what you see left in my bowl here for the most part is that shea butter. This soap here, the Oatmeal Milk and Honey, is one of my favorites. My husband loves it as well. I have some customers that this is all they will buy. It's such a peaceful, relaxing smell. It's very subtle, but the smell is there, but it's like a calming. It's not a really strong aroma. It's just lovely. And we are going directly in with the liquid oils now. In the liquid oils, sometimes I do go ahead and pre-measure my kaolin clay in there. In this case, we have honey in this batch, excuse me. So sometimes it's easier to just get everything blended in with your liquid oils. It's been so long since I filmed this video. I don't know if I did that. I believe I did, but we'll find out to see if I added it here. But there is honey in this batch, and there is milk in this batch as well. This is made with goat milk. And I just give it just a little stir. I don't work in huge batches, so I don't have to stir for that long. If I stick blend for a while at the beginning, see, there's my goat milk. If I stir for a while at the beginning, then it speeds trace up way too much on me. So I do a lot of hand mixing with my soap, and then I stick blend or zap it just to make sure that everything is incorporated. And the whisk that I'm using here, sometimes I use my plastic whisk, but the whisk that I'm using is stainless steel. You want to make sure that if you're using any type of steel, you're always using stainless steel. So if you see, by adding the oils and melting it down, then the room temperature oils and the goat milk, we are now down to soaping at 116 degrees. So the honey was already added into the room temperature oils and pre-blended in. That's why my stick blender is already used there in the picture. There's kaolin clay in there as well. So we're splitting off part of the batch here. This part, since we did stick blend a little bit, but we're going to have to go back through, of course, and stick blend each individual section. But by just going ahead and get it like saponified, that's enough that it's not going to separate, and we can pour it off into the separate sections. So this will be our first batch. We've got a nice creamy texture already going on. Adding in our fragrance oil. I don't believe this fragrance oil is supposed to accelerate, but with my experience in the past, sometimes when it's not supposed to, it still does. So I typically like to put my fragrance oil in if I'm doing different colors and splitting them off. I usually pour in the fragrance oil with each section. That way it gives me more time to work with it. See, as you can see already, see how much that thickened up just from that little bit of stick blending, which is why I don't do that a lot in the beginning. So now we are at a nice pourable trace. I always take my spatula there after stick blending, make sure I'm rubbing it and swiping it on all the sides, scraping the bottom really good. You want to make sure everything is incorporated. Even when it comes to the fragrance oil, you can still have pockets of fragrance oil that doesn't get blended into the oils, and that'll leave fragrance oil pockets in your soap. So you want to make sure, again, everything is nice and incorporated. And if you can see how the soap is sticking very, very well to the shaft and the spatula there, it is mixed very well. So we're going in. This was uncolored, so this is our natural soap base here. Now I wanted to mix this very well so it sets up quickly. I'm not worried about getting a nice flat layer, so I went ahead and mixed it just a little bit more. If you saw at the end there, I put that stick blender back in. That gives it a nice jump start on getting solid so we can pour in our next layer. Make sure we're getting all the air bubbles out that we can. We cover it up to help speed the process along, and we're going to go ahead and work on our next section. And we're already pretty thick here, but it's still workable. When we pour our fragrance oil in, that'll loosen it up a little bit as well. Sometimes soaping with the heat transfer method, the oils are still pretty hot. You can let your lye cool down a little bit before you do it, but we're fine with the design that I wanted to do. Shea butter, I believe, is also guilty of speeding up your trace, and I prefer shea butter over cocoa butter. I'm personally allergic to the raw natural cocoa butter, so I don't tend to use that in my soap as much. I do have some that I need to use up in a batch, but the raw undeodorized cocoa butter does have a very strong cocoa smell that's going to come through in your fragrance. So you almost want to do like an unscented one so it has that cocoa smell. So eventually I will be using that. But for the most part, most of my soaps, they're going to be made with shea butter over cocoa butter due to my own personal preference. So we added titanium dioxide into the small cup there. We didn't add a ton, just enough that it makes it a nice creamy color. And then I put in some gold mica mixed with oil already into the larger container there. Just enough to give it a different color than that batch that we poured off already. speeding it up here for you guys. That way you're not watching me mix and mix and mix, because I mix a lot. I want to make sure it's all completely incorporated, especially with as thick as it is. You want to make sure that color is getting blended in there very well. So now we are going to do an in the pot swirl with these two colors. And again, we're pretty thick, but again, it's totally workable. It's still being poured, so I'm scraping it all out of there. And I want to give it just a quick stir since it was kind of thicker, to make sure that we get a nice design when we're pouring it off right from the beginning. So back to our mold. We're going to texturize this up a little bit. This is set up very nicely, so if you see how thick it is, we would be able to pour our batter directly over that as long as we're doing it slow enough and it's not going to break through, and that's what I wanted. So in with the rest of the batter. It looks so creamy and delicious. I love it. I just love this oatmeal milk and honey fragrance. I know I've already said that, but I love it. It smells so wonderful. This soap is available now, so it has already been cured. This was filmed about 6 weeks ago. So the soap is cured and packaged up, ready in the shop. So if this is something you're interested in. Off camera, I did add some oatmeal there to the sides of the mold, and then I put a big strip of bubble wrap across the top. And this is my splitter. So we're going to go ahead and take that big loaf and we're cutting it into 2 loaves. Doesn't that look lovely? I love the honeycomb pattern you get from the bubble wrap. And I am cutting it on its side, that way the oatmeal isn't dragging completely down, since it does have the oatmeal on the top. I did regret not putting some oatmeal in the batch, but at least it's there on the top. We have honey in the batch and we have milk in the batch, so technically oatmeal milk and honey is completely all incorporated in the soap itself. This just looks like a very lovely creamy pattern, creamy soap, very delightful. We will be cutting some of our bars here into our new sample packs. We did the sample packs with our fall release. It ended up very well. I sold some of them online, and I also sold some at some shows that I went to here local. People really like that. The sample packs are cut half the size, so you're still getting a very nice chunk of soap, but you're getting different flavors in one pack. So this oatmeal milk and honey will be incorporated in our next sample pack. That is not available yet. Even though the soap itself is available on the shelf, the sample pack is not listed yet because the other soaps that are in that pack are not all cured. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully we get some more videos out here soon. I have several videos made. Leave a comment if you want to see more videos. Subscribe, like, and check out our website. Thank you so much.